Hello and welcome to this week's PhD report. I am combining this week the Monday check-in and the Friday check-in because I didn't get to do the Monday check-in and I've already used my Compass card, so there's no pretending here. So just a brief glance. As you can see, I've already filled out my week. I have gone through my items. This was very superficially used on Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday I have extensively used my planner. So I'm going to tell you kind of what I did and how that compares to what I plan to do, kind of all in one go here. So as a student, I wanted to work on the cover letters. That's referring to prep for the job market. I had to write two different kinds of letters, one for research-oriented schools and then teaching-oriented schools. So I filled those out. I needed to book Poland, which is buy my flight tickets basically for the conference. As a scholar, I needed to get through 50% of the draft of chapter 3. This did not end up happening. Chapter 3, I've run into a few little obstacles that I want to check in with my advisor. So I did work on it enough to recognize what the problem was, but as far as like actually producing draft, I didn't do that so much. I did get through the 5 readings, which I thought was going to be hard this week. I managed to clean the house. I got the car to my father as needed. As a philosophy citizen, I managed to write up the notes for the end of the year party and pass that on to the administrators that it's relevant to. And I finished working on the APA blog that I should have done a long time ago, but had feelings about, so I finished it this week. And as a graduate orientation ambassador, I followed up on the blog, so I created a rough schedule based on the staff that have already agreed to be guest posts for our blog. And then as a teacher, I needed to prep Unit 1. Much to my surprise, I actually got through this. So that was good news. So let's look at the breakdown. So the 5 readings I needed to do was Narrative Explanations. That was a piece by Velleman. McAdams and Sheckman and the co-author itself and Noel Carroll. So McAdams was just an article, like a 40-page, 20-page article. Carroll, what I read was basically an article, or it was like a chapter. Sheckman and the co-author itself, these were both full books. So I read the beginning, the end, and then the chapters that I thought were most relevant to my research. So all of these I got through. I read everything I think I needed to read at this point. I took notes. I took marginal notes as I was reading them, and then I took one-page typed, about 1 page. I can't do exactly 1 page, but about 1 page typed notes. And then I also created citable notes, which is you basically put the main point into one sentence. And those help a lot because they help you retain what the hell that was about. So I got through all of those happily. And I was very worried about this because whole books I never really tried to process before. So let's look at 50% of chapter 3. This was how I broke it down at the beginning of my week. I wanted to work on how the empirical studies I'm working on support non-conceptual, the reality of the non-conceptual. This just didn't quite work. I did write on it, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to talk about the issues, and this seems kind of obvious to me. So I need to talk it out with my advisor, basically. Write the flag posting for the empirical. So what I had done prior to this week was, I wrote up little summaries of the empirical studies that I want to work with, but I hadn't connected them together at all. I hadn't written this is how it's going to fit into the piece. So I did manage to do that. There's a section from John Searle that is in some of my previous work, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to engage with that or not. I didn't really decide if it's needed because there's some prior questions I have to answer before I can figure that out. So really, because I couldn't do this, I couldn't do this. That's how that goes. I did do plenty of free writing, and that helped me figure out the questions I needed to articulate, or I will need to articulate to my advisor. So I made good progress on this. I'm not unhappy about it. The 50% thing is kind of arbitrary anyways. The main thing is that I'm prioritizing working on it each week, and 50% or not, like whatever, it's not that important. For class, I need to type up my syllabus. I did that, and I got through the first 4 days of the course, including the PowerPoint, the activity we're gonna do, and their like writing assignment for each day. Day 1 is still not quite done, but I have everything, like I have a draft of it. I expect to need to polish it as I go forward, and that's true with all the things, but I basically, I have the bulk of it done. I have the part that I was expecting to get done this week completed. So I got through the 2 kinds of cover letters that I needed to do. This wasn't quite as hard as I thought. I kind of think I just don't know what a cover letter is supposed to look like. So I have drafts of it, and the point, right, my generation of job market material, since I am not going on the market this round, is just to create a draft of everything and then send it off to the person in charge of job placement at my department so that it can be looked over and I can improve it as I go along. So other things that need to get done, booking Poland, I got that, thank goodness, because the price went up a lot like a couple days after I did it. I responded to, I'm working with 2 different parts of the APA blog. I responded to one, and I sent my revised draft to the main person I was working on. I did right at the end of the year notes from the undergrads, and I did, the Slack follow-up was asking for advice about how to approach the blog issue with the GOA people, and I did clean my house. So overall, it was very good. If we look, I don't have it in front of me, but numerically, the amount of minutes I worked this week was around 1,700. There's only been a couple weeks my entire career since I started counting that I've worked about that many. I did not make it to 350 minutes each day. I think on Monday and Tuesday I did make it to 350 minutes, but then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday I was a little bit over 300. So I'm going to be trying something next week to try to get myself to actually push through and get those 350 days. But I am quite happy with the amount of work that I got done. I am vastly surpassing the things I had done. And right, the only measure that matters is really if you're improving, you measuring yourself against yourself. So I'm pretty happy with that. I also got through like a lot of content, and that's something to be happy about. All right, well, thanks so much for checking in. Next week, we should be back to the more normal process of a Monday check-in and a Friday check-in, but thanks for bearing with me.